do. I think I do. Hello? I can't wait to hear me speak after all that. Great to be here. Happy Father's Day, everybody. Welcome everybody online. And, Pastor Steve, he's known as pastor to you. He's always going to be coach to me. I consider, the person I am today has so much to do with the investment of coach in my life. And, when you're a kid and you're playing little league sports, sports are the things that help make you become prepared for life in general when you're an adult, because all the things that you do, when you get into the real world and you're an adult, you're coming back to all the disciplines that you were taught as a younger child to help sustain you through the challenges of adulthood. It's such formidable years, to have when you're growing up. So to have a person like Coach to invest in our life was a true blessing, and I'm forever grateful for that. I love you, Coach. Great to be here today. As a kid, in addition to I wanted to be a ball player. I was an athlete. I wanted to be a basketball player growing up, but really what I was excited about more than anything was to become a father at some point. My parents always called me the old school. I had the flat top, and I wore the Chuck Taylors before they were cool. I should have been born in the 50s, as they say. So it was the old the traditional family values that I always gravitated to, and I just couldn't wait to be a dad when I'd gotten older. I had a great relationship with my mom, a great relationship with my dad at all the sporting events, and they modeled what it was supposed to be like to be a parent. But it was more than that, because that's just what you're supposed to have in life. But really what modeled parenting for me, and my message isn't so much about parenting, but it's the intro to what I will discuss. But we were big movie fans growing up. So when I wanted to be a dad so much, I would pay attention to the characters on the movies to see, well, what's fatherhood supposed to be like? What's it supposed to be like when you get older? And my first impression of what fatherhood's supposed to be like was from Michael Keaton in Mr. Mom. And all I can think to myself is, my goodness, how am I going to go one day and do all these vacuuming and cleaning? How am I going to go to the deli and order the cheese and the meat when there are thousands of different flavors to it? And I've got to be the one to say, Irv, we were never in aisle 7. That's how Mr. Mom worked. And then you see Vacation and Chevy Chase. You get this idea, well, that's the kind of dad that I want to be. I want to take my kids to Wally World someday, only to find out Wally World doesn't exist. And if it did exist, it'd probably be closed when I get there anyway. And then when you actually get to I learned in reality, when you actually get to the amusement park with all your kids, you just want to get back home. It's not all it's cracked up to be. So in addition, and then, what happens after that is, you've got Mel Gibson comes along with The Patriot, and, his sons are killed in battle, and now, whoa, this guy's setting the standard. He takes on the entire British Army in defense of his child. That's a pretty cool dad. That's a high standard that I don't know that I'm going to be able to meet. And then the kiss of death came along when Liam Neeson came out with Taken. And I have 3 daughters. And, of course, if you've never seen Taken, that's when his daughter goes off to Europe and she's kidnapped, and Liam Neeson is actually talking to this guy on this phone. He's a retired, CIA guy, just one of the baddest people on the planet, and he's talking to the guy that's actively kidnapping his daughter, say, hey, I have a particular set of skills that I've acquired over a long career that make me a nightmare for people like you. And he closes it by saying, I will find you and I will kill you. And I got to tell you, it was one of the saddest moments of my life when I had to tell my daughters, I don't have the particular set of skills. I'm sorry, you can't go to Europe. Because it's not going to happen. But then as reality sets in, when you become a father, and it's not what the movie screens make it out to be, it's really just like your goal as a dad is not unlike your goals for all your relationships in life. The greatest fear that you have as a parent and the greatest desire that you have is really, when it boils down to it, you just want to be relevant. You want to matter. And that's the same true in all of our relationships when you think about it, whether a business, whether personal, whether your neighbors over here, someone in a professional setting, whether an elected official or a coach or a teacher, it comes down to you just want to be relevant. You want to matter. That's really the most important thing. At the end of the day, that's what we're looking for. So in order to maintain that idea that you want to be relevant, in order to assure that you matter, well, the wise thing to do would be to take a page out of the book of the person of Jesus Christ, who 2,000 years after he walked this earth is still as relevant as he was then and he is today. He still matters today. So if that's what we want in our life, then let's look at the character trait that set him apart from all others, that made him relevant today, that makes him matter in every single aspect of life. It's found in Matthew chapter 20. Just one verse I'm going to share. Matthew chapter 20, verse 28. It said, just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, to give his life as a ransom for many. If you want to matter, if you want to be relevant, you want to make sure that your life is not a waste, that you are going to be relevant in every aspect of life, serve others. That's what Jesus did. That's what he taught us to do. Be a servant, because I'll tell you what, life should not be so much about what you can get out of it, but more so about what you can give of yourself to others. And that's what we're called to do. So I love my daughter Shay over there. I love Chloe too, of course, and I love my daughter's over here. But Shay was not somebody that was going to clean her dinner dish. Not often. She was going to sneak food in her room and water bottles and all that stuff. So she's not perfect, but she's a servant. She sees a need that needs to be met, and she meets it. Chloe's the same way. We try to train our daughters to be one of initiative, to look for the needs of people's life. That's what a servant is. It's not meeting every need of people. It's looking for some area that they can contribute to in serving that person. That's what servanthood looks like. And I'll tell you what, servanthood is the number one need of the people. Why do you serve? Because it's the number one need. We live in a time period where people are more dependent on other people than ever in history. And so if there's ever a time where we should capitalize on the abundance of needs out there, this is it. See, everyone needs someone to encourage, because the fact of the matter is we live in a world where people make it their mission to bring people down. Isn't that unfortunate? And if you don't believe me, just spend a little bit of time on social media. Read some of the things in the groups. Read on your own page the vitriol hate that people have out there. Some people, it just feels like they wake up and their whole mission is to bring somebody down. And they call themselves social media warriors. I call them keyboard cowards. It's people that don't really want to be a part of a solution. They just want to continue to add and magnify the problem. I'll tell you what, that's good for us in the sense that there's a lot of room available for people to do the opposite. If you want to matter, if you want to be relevant, then set yourself apart and do what most people are not doing. Spending time to build people up. And don't worry about trying to figure out why they're doing what they're doing. Some people just want to do it. It's what makes them happy, because they got to do something to make themselves feel better about themselves. One of my favorite movies is The Dark Knight, Batman. I still think Michael Keaton, Mr. Mom, funnily enough, Mr. Mom was the greatest Batman ever. But then Christian Bale came out, and there's a scene where Bruce Wayne and Alfred are trying to figure out the psyche, the intellectual mindset of the Joker. And Alfred tells this story of a guy who robbed some jewels but never had a guy to trade with and anything. And he makes this statement. He's basically telling Bruce Wayne, don't stop trying to figure this guy out. He says, some men aren't looking for anything logical like money. They can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some men just want to watch the world burn. You want to set yourself apart. Be somebody that wants to see a light in the world. And unfortunately, we, even as a church, as a body of Christ, and we as individuals have been so consumed with making sure that everybody knows what we're against. They're not really sure what the church is for. And don't get me wrong, when there is injustice, we should call it out. When there is sin and immorality, we should be the first to boldly and strongly denounce it. But our problem is that our cries against what's wrong with the world are far louder, are much louder than our praise for what's right in Jesus and His Word. I'll say it again because it was an awakening when I saw that. That our cries against what's wrong with the world are so much louder than our praise for what's right in Jesus and His Word. People don't want to just be told why they shouldn't do something. People need to be encouraged why they should be a part of something. The positive message is what needs to be heard. See, when you share positive vibes and comforting words and you offer an individual prayer with somebody, you share with them the love of Jesus, that He is the only one that can bring peace that passes all understanding, you're going to set yourself apart. And you just may be the one that prevents them from giving up at that moment where they're ready to quit. Because we've all been there. You want to be relevant? Encourage someone. Because we live in a world where people love to see people fail. Isn't that's just a little backwards? And listen, I'm okay with the competitive part. There are teams that you have where you just want to see them lose. As a Reds fan, I hated any team in the National League that was ahead of them. So I wanted to see them all lose. And the Braves were starting to come up pretty good when the Reds were getting it. So I hated the Braves. I want to see them lose all the time. Nothing wrong with that. I want to see LeBron lose every game. Not because of his politics, all right? I'm not a fan of it, but he can say what he wants. It's his business. But the fact of the matter is, LeBron's a good dad. He's married to the same woman for his whole life, gives a lot to charity. I don't agree with his politics. So be it. Who cares? I don't want him to lose because of that. I want him to lose because Michael Jordan is the GOAT. I'm a 90s guy. I'm always going to be stuck in the 90s. So when you insult me by telling me that somebody is better than Michael Jordan, I have a problem with that. And I'm going to defend my guy. That's healthy. There's nothing wrong with, as a competitor, you want a team to lose. Problem is, we've carried that into our life where we want to see people not just lose, we want to see them fail. You want to set yourself apart. Be someone that helps somebody succeed. Be someone that, first of all, doesn't quit yourselves, but then once you've been through that moment in your life, you take that experience, you serve somebody else, and prevent them from giving up. And I'm not suggesting that you need to be somebody that says that quitting is not a part of my vocabulary. I've never thought about quitting. It was never an option for me. I got to tell you, God bless those folks. I don't understand that because quitting has been very much a part of my vocabulary. It was always an option for me. It's not so much the ability to never think about quitting that makes you strong. It's the ability to go through that agonizing, gut-wrenching emotion of not only wanting to quit, but feeling that that's the best way out, but still persevering through it. That's the person that I want to talk with. I'm just not on the same wavelength of the guy that said, "Oh, there's never an option for me." Awesome. But there are times in my life where I've wanted to quit every single day. And I would imagine many of here have been in that same mindset before. You've gone through something where not only was it in your vocabulary, but you wanted to quit. And it seemed like the best thing to do at the moment. And the easiest thing to do. Hey, you're relevant. You matter. if you will make yourself available to share that experience and serve others. Serve Christ by serving others, helping them get through that moment that you were once in and you made it to the other side. You are that person. So not only is serving the most important thing for others, but it's actually it's the number one need for us as individuals. Because what are we trying to do day in and day out? We're trying to create an identity. See, not only is when you're serving others, it has all sorts of scientific studies have demonstrated, it has physical and psychological and social impacts in your life. When you live a life of service to Christ and you live a life of service to others, you have healthier living, longer lifespans, less stress, lower blood pressure, reduction in chronic pain, if you can believe it or not. But here's the most important thing. It benefits you personally by giving you an identity. And it's an identity that never goes away. Because really, think about all throughout your life, what are you really trying to do? You're trying to create an identity for yourself. And we do it based on the things that we do in life. People create their identity based on their title, their stature, their role in a particular club or a company. And the problem is, when that role goes away, there goes your identity. So what do? You give yourself an identity in something that is eternal. Give yourself an identity of something that's never going to go away, because Christ will always be on the throne. Make your identity with Him, and there will always be people to serve. That identity of serving Christ and serving others, you never retire from. You see athletes, they spend years in their career long after they should. Politicians spend decades and decades into a particular elected seat. Why do they do that? Because they're afraid of what life is going to be like without that identity that they've created for themselves. They're afraid they're just going to be like everybody else, as if that's a bad thing. But when you're serving Christ and you're serving others, it's a role that never ceases. Why? Because Christ will always be on the throne, and there will always be people that need serving. And what does it look like? It's very simple. It doesn't mean that you have all the answers to everybody's problem. Sometimes it just means that you're available. You give somebody a call. You say, hey, I was just thinking about you. Wanted to lift you up in a word of prayer. Wanted to see if you needed anything. That's how simple it is. You know, we get this idea that, well, serving, I don't know if I have that kind of time. I don't know if I have the right skill set. Everybody has the right skill set. Everybody has the time, because all it takes is for you to be available. You don't have to have all the right answers, because more often than not, think about times when you've been in some of your deepest, darkest moments. You didn't necessarily want an answer, did you? Sometimes you just wanted somebody there. Sometimes you just wanted to know that you weren't alone during that time. That's what serving means. So not only is it the most important thing for you, most important thing for others, and I'm winding up on a close here, serving others ensures a legacy. Because you think about your life and the things that you do and why you do it. At the end of the day, you want to know that you mattered. You want to know that you've left something behind that is going to resonate with people and still serve them even after you're gone. One of my favorite stories, my dad, both of my parents, my mom and my dad, not only just teachers and coaches, they looked at their life as serving others. And there was a gentleman, African-American gentleman named Marvin Benford, that my parents paid their education to go into Father Lopez, first black student athlete to attend. They integrated Lopez. And Marvin was riding in the back seat of my parents' car. And Marvin they said, hey, Coach, my sister's having a baby. Going to name her kid after you. Well, very relevant today. Still matters. Because he chose a life of service. Can you imagine the impact that we can make in a world when your identity is in Christ? And your identity is in serving Christ and, by extension, serving others. Can't control what everybody else around, but you can control what you do. Can you imagine the world that you can create in your world if we lived a life of servant to Christ and service to others? It will be a lot different than it is today. And it's probably already great right now. Always be greater. You'll always be relevant. There'll always be someone to serve. And the big question is, well, how do you do it? Very simple. Just be available. That's it. There's no secret to it. What's service supposed to look like? It's supposed to look like whatever the need is. It may just be a hug to somebody. That's what it looks like. A phone call to somebody that you know is going through something you haven't heard from in a while. That's what it looks like. It's denying yourself, taking up his cross, and looking for the needs to be met. That's what service is. The Son of Man came not to be served. The Son of Man didn't come to be served, but to serve. And just as the Father has sent me, so I send you. Father, thank you for this wonderful time to be here. Thank you for your word, that it is timeless. Thank you for the fact that serving Christ and serving others never goes out of style. No matter what the times are, no matter what the pop culture is, no matter what the political correct attributes are of the day, serving Christ and serving others will always be what matters, will always keep us relevant.